I have never received such letters from Indian people before. But yesterday I also received a letter from an Indian person. The person is under the influence of a certain negative power and feels like perhaps committing suicide because of this condition, which befalls her at certain times, so that she loses all her senses and is very much possessed by the negative power. And at that time, she loses the Simran and then repeats Om Namah Shiva. She repeats this at that time because this is the mantra of the negative power, Shiva. And you see, there are now, I think, more than 50% of the people in this world who worship Shiva, and in the next generation, they will truly become full devils, complete devils, and they will ruin the entire world. They will destroy the entire world. They will destroy themselves. So many people worship the destructive power, the destroying power, the Shiva power. So terrible. So this woman had probably worshipped Shiva in her last life, and therefore she had this mantra, Om Namah Shiva. And people are very proud that they worship such a great Lord. And this is now the effect of this mantra, or these practices that she was engaged in. The fact that she wants to kill herself, to end her life. And in the Western countries, there are so many people. This stage is very common, and it is increasing. It has now also come to India. I have found some people, and others too, but very few, not so many. So this stage is increasing very rapidly, and these people will create very difficult situations. Even within my lifetime, I have seen that people have switched over very strongly to this negative power. So many people, again and again, these temples of Shiva and such lesser powers, which are subordinate to Lord Shiva. For Lord Shiva is the king, we may say, the regent of the negative power, the devil himself, the highest controlling power, and he has great armies and many other aspects, and so many of them are at work, and so many people worship certain powers that are aspects of Shiva, and then everyone will act in this way. So this is the main difficulty that is created by the people of this world.
Here, Sant Thakur Singh elaborates on the difficulties that can be associated with the worship of deities. Specifically, he discusses the example of a female disciple who writes to him in a letter about her experiences. She explains that at certain times she is overwhelmed by a negative power and in an experience of losing control, has to witness this power reciting the Shiva mantra through her. These incidents are so distressing to her that she contemplates suicide. He attributes these difficulties to worship in a past life. He identifies Shiva not only as the king or ruler of the negative power, the controlling power, but here uses the drastic expression, the devil himself. In his view, people who worship Shiva would, in the next generation, become completely devilish people who would destroy the world and themselves. It is also noteworthy that he states that more than half the world's population worships Shiva, his manifestations, or entities subordinate to him. Surprisingly, he sees Western countries as the starting point for this. This means he cannot be referring to the conventional worship common in Hinduism. While Satanism is certainly on the rise there, it hardly constitutes more than a sizable minority. Therefore, the only possibility is a kind of glorification directed at the world, worldly goods, advantages, comforts, pleasures, and idols, perhaps even within the framework of normal religions. Perhaps this also refers to a distorted image of God as unjust and wrathful, but that is pure speculation. When these statements are contrasted with the teachings of his successor, a picture emerges that could hardly be more contradictory. On one side, we have the devil himself, whose worship inevitably leads to the world's destruction. On the other, we have God himself, who graciously and benevolently supports people on their spiritual path to God. I find this contradiction very striking and puzzling. Do you have an explanation for this? If so, please write it in the comments.